Hi, welcome to my video on the horizontal line test part 2. How to determine if the inverse of a function is a function. Let me explain. How to determine if the inverse of a function is a function. So if you take a function and you do its inverse, when will it be a function? Well, if a function passes the horizontal line test, then its inverse is a function. Determine if the inverse of the function that we have below here is a function. So if I draw a horizontal line anywhere here, that means that it passes the horizontal line test. So the horizontal line test, it passed it. So that means the inverse of this function is a function. So if you did the reflection here, you would get, if you did the reflection in the line y equals x, then its inverse will be a function. So if you take this point here as 1, 2, so the inverse is 2, 1. If you take this point here, this is 0, 0. And if you take this point to be just, this point is x is negative 1. X is negative 1, y is negative 1. So its inverse, x is negative 1, y is negative 1. Its inverse is negative 1, negative 1. So it's, notice its reflection in the line y equals x. There it is, there is a function. Determine if this one, if its inverse is a function. Notice if it reflects this one. So let's test. So I draw a horizontal line through these 2 points. I draw a horizontal line and it passes to these 2 points. So the horizontal line test, it fails. It fails the horizontal line test. Therefore, if you do the inverse of this function, it will not, the inverse of this function will not pass it. So because, let's pretend that this point here, x is 0, y is 2. So when you do the inverse of this function, x is 2, y is 0. So let's just pretend that that's right there. So that means that it's going to pass the inverse, and I'll do the inverse in red. Just, if I get a, hold on. There's this inverse going this way. Again, this is just showing you, not really accurate, but it gives you the idea. So the inverse of this parabola is this one right here. And notice that when you have this inverse, if you draw a vertical line, it fails the vertical line test. So notice the horizontal line becomes a vertical line when you do its inverse. So this horizontal line here is y equals 2. This is x equals 2. So it's a vertical line, so fail. So if it fails the horizontal line test, that means the horizontal line becomes a vertical line, so its inverse will not be a function. Let's continue. So we have these points. So I draw a horizontal line through here, 1 point. Draw a horizontal line through here, 1 point. But if I draw a horizontal line here, I have 2 points. So the horizontal line test, it fails. So it fails the horizontal line test. That means its inverse won't be a function, because again, if you do an inverse on these 2 points, so let's say this point is x is negative 1, y is 2, and this point here is x is 2, y is 2. So when you do the inverse of those 2 points, you get the point 2, negative 1, which is right here, and inverse of 2, 2 is 2, 2. So there's the 2 points, there and there. So this horizontal line becomes this vertical line. So it failed the horizontal line test, therefore its inverse will not be a function. D, I draw a horizontal line anywhere through this curve, and it only passes through 1 point. So therefore, when you do its inverse in the line y equals x, this asymptote here, let's say that's y equals 1. So that asymptote becomes x equals 1. So let's say that's right there. And then the curve, if this point here is 0, that's 0, 2, so it's 2, 0. So let's pretend that 2, 0 is here. This point here is 2, 3, so this is 3, 2. So this is 3, 2. So it goes, it's going like this. So this inverse is not a function. E, we have an equation. So if I graph this, when x is 0, y is negative 2. When x is 0, y is negative 2. So that's that point there. When x is 1, y is negative 1. Right here. When x is 4, that's a 2. So when x is 4, y is 0. And I keep on going. X is allowed, can be greater than or equal to 0. So it starts at this point. So the starting point, x is 0, y is negative 2. And it moves like this. So that's a square root function, which is half a parabola. So notice it passes the horizontal line test. So the horizontal line test is passed. So it's the inverse. So if you did the inverse of this one, let's do the inverse of this one. Let's see. So the inverse is, this is 0, negative 2. So we got a negative 2, 0 right there. We got 1, negative 1. So we got a negative 1, 1, which is right there. And we got 0, 4. So we got 4, 0, which is, let's say, is right there. So there's this inverse doing this. So because it passed the horizontal line test is only passed through one point, therefore the inverse will be a function. And F, we have a circle. We got an x squared plus y squared equals 4. We got x minus 1 squared, y plus 2. So the center of the circle, the center is opposite of negative 1. It takes the 1 to give me a 0. And it takes negative 2 to give me y 0. So the center is 1, negative 2, which is right here. And r squared is 4. So r, the radius is square root of 4, which is 2. It's plus or minus, but in this case it's positive. So that means the radius 2 to the right, 2 to the left, 2 up, 2 down. So there's the circle. So because that's a circle, it will fail the horizontal line test. So the inverse of this is not a function. And we have a parabola here. And so the vertex of this parabola, x is 3, y is 1. And the parabola, x is 3. Right here, y is 1, which is right here. The parabola is positive. This is a positive, so it's opening up. So it's opening up like this. So there's the graph of that. So that means if I draw a horizontal line, which is this, the horizontal line passes through 2 points, so it fails. It fails the horizontal line test, so therefore its inverse is not a function. Because if you did the inverse of this one, and I do the inverse, this point here is 3, 1. So that means the inverse is 1, 3. So the inverse is 1, 3. Let's say 1, 3 is right there. So this one will go this way. There's his inverse. So that horizontal line becomes a vertical line. So it fails the vertical line test. Okay, and we have a cubic. That's a 3 there. So a cubic graph is a sideways S. So this point, when x is negative 1, y is 0. So this, when x is negative 1, y is 0. when x is 0, y is 1. When x is 1, y is 8. So we want to mark, just pretend 8 is way up there. So this cubic graph is a sideways S, so it comes down through here, and as it hits this intercept right here, it's a slight, it comes down like this, and as it comes down, it bends, goes into here. Then when it goes out, it's doing this. So there's the x cube. It's a sideways S. We've seen this in the cubic graph before. So it's inverse. It passes the horizontal line test. So it passes the horizontal line test. So because it passes the horizontal line test, its inverse is a function. Because the horizontal line becomes a vertical line. So it only passes through one point. So the vertical line will only pass through one point. And if you want to do the inverse of this one, just plot the inverse. So this is 1, 8. So let's pretend that this is, as x is 1, y is 8. This is 8 and 1, it's right here. And this point here is x is 0, y is 1. So we get a 1, 0. X, this is 0, 1, so we get a 1, 0, which is right here. And this point right here is x's. X is negative 1, y is 0, so we get 0, negative 1, which is right here. So the graph comes in, and it comes in like this. And if you plot more points than these, you see that there's this inverse. And the inverse is the reflection in the line, y equals x, right there. So that's explaining. So in order for a function, in order for the inverse of a function to be a function, it has to pass the horizontal line test. If it passes it, then its inverse will be a function. In other words, its inverse will have passed the vertical line test, because the vertical line will only pass through one point. Hopefully you understand. We'll do more videos to help you out. And if you wish, if you like the video, click on the like button, click on the subscribe button. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content that's on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained, which is one word. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video helped you. Bye-bye.